I'm ready.
Okay, he can talk directly into the camera for this one.
Yeah.
You can talk directly into the camera for this one. So just explain your whole process and what you eat. Like, is pizza the only thing you eat?
Almost always. That's what it's been recently, anyway. I have had hamburger helper in the past. However, Mom gripes and complains about the pot and stuff being hard to clean or so after it, and I've lost interest from it afterwards.
So, if you go ahead and kind of just like tell kind of like.
Is the rain going to cause problems for sound?
How loud is it? Oh yeah.
Think of something here. Let's see, because I'm thinking of having one of these and one of these. Both of these are kind of slightly different, but still. They're otherwise basically the same routine, it's just that they're slightly different overall. These are also different. These ones are also different. Or at least processed differently. And these big ones are processed in a special way.
Whatever you want. You can even like show camera all the different types of pizza you have. Actually, yeah, you should do that. That'd be great.
I'm trying to figure out what the light source is.
No, I was just getting a flare from the light. I thought it was something dirty on the lens, but it's just the light.
Oh, lens flares.
Alright. So, whenever you're ready.
You rolling?
Yep.
Pizza is pretty much about the only thing I really ever eat. There are some exceptions, such as a hamburger helper without hamburger and just extra flavor and milk. But just for the most part, it's pizza. And almost entirely pizza. One look at this and you'll know what I mean. You've probably got like 2 weeks worth right here, but this is just for starters. I eat nothing but pizza. And lots of pizza. I basically have 3 different groups of pizza in a sense. The first group are the small ones like this, for example. These are otherwise small. There's 2 of them in each of these, and they're relatively cheap, like $3 for this or something. I don't exactly remember. But yep, these are very, very tasty at that. Greasy though, but still tasty. This is a second type, which is, I got a Red Baron similar one, but right now I don't have any of those in stock. The box is a waste of space. It needs to be redesigned, so it takes up less space in the freezer, so I can get more in the freezer. But yep, these ones are not too bad, although lesser liked slightly. One perfect? I wouldn't say perfect. By the laws of physics, you can't even be perfect. And then there's these. Of course, there's also this DiGiorno pizza for one or something that I really especially love, but there's one big problem with them. They're very hard to find because they're rarely in stock. Now, one thing you might have noticed, they're all cheese. I've lost all interest with meat. Since January 2004, I've lost all interest in meat. Then, of course, there's these really big ones. Only one of these alone is more than enough to fill me for the whole day, pretty much. So, eat in the morning, and I'm good to go for quite a long time, actually. Occasional snacks here and there would be an odd exception. These may be a little on the small side, but this 16.03 ounces is any hint. Slightly more than a pound. This should actually be more than that. There's a math error there. But it's a minor one. It shouldn't matter. But either way, this just at least does give you the idea and what I go with. These are actually got really good taste. It's just that it's small. Just wish they came in a bigger size. Nice shot. This is the best tasting pizza of them all. Of course, DiGiorno does do extremely well with that. Just the one problem about these is, well, I have to get them with the and breadsticks variety. It's because the crust is otherwise very, very dry in the regular version, but they're otherwise very crisp and clear, very tasty and stuff and with this particular setup. I do like the breadsticks, but not anywhere near as much. And I do not like the marinara sauce. I just otherwise eat the breadsticks without it. I've never liked those add-ons. In case you're wondering, this is what that marinara sauce looks like. It's otherwise going in the trash because it's eventually going to become just a big icy thing, as that one advertisement has. Yep, I never really eat this stuff. No interest in it. Let's see. So, whenever I want to decide to eat, there's two factors that determine what I decide to eat. First, there's motive. That's pretty obvious. I do sometimes prefer these big ones like this, except I have to wait for that pizzazz cooker tray thing to be washed before I even have it. And since it's not washed, I otherwise have some limitations on that front. So I go around figuring out what I want, and it just happens to be that I want one of these and one of this. Both of these combined. There are times where I eat once a day and sometimes I eat twice a day. Usually it's twice when it comes to these smaller ones like this. But when it comes to those big ones, then that's a different subject, where in that case I only eat once a day. That one time, plus occasional snacks here and there, is good enough to last me for a rather long time. However, this is just the decision phase of what I want to eat. So, when I decided what I want to eat, I head off into my room, turn my TV and stuff off, and on and off I go. Come on.
Alright, I'm rolling.
Phase 2 of my process is where I actually form the initial setup. Normally I'd have my TV running. For these and those DiGiorno for ones, I need 4 paper towels. Notice that this is a selecta size. Bounty and Brawny do very well for this. So I'll get 4 of these. Okay, nice clean cut. And I fold it, fold it, fold it, and fold it once more to create a quadruple layer thick here. This provides extra protection and such, but at least it helps size it properly. These do well with 3 of this, but it's folded in a different way. Okay, that one's good. Ditch that up there. This I fold in half like this. Don't get any overlap between the 2 layers. This is the way it's actually been for several years now. I fold it in half like this, or at least close. And then I rotate it. Keep this part, or one of these 2 sides, always facing up. And then I fold it in half like that. Okay, that completes that one. And I need a single for wiping my hands off on. And it's basically like that, except I got this in reverse, so I need to flip that. I frequently get it in reverse. And now I open the box, or the first one I'm going to have, and get this. I actually use the box as a plate, in a way. Kind of silly, but hey, at least I don't have to bother with using any plates. So if there's no plates that are clean, you know, wouldn't have to worry about it, because the box just does that very well. Take that out, use that just as a temporary platform for now. So sometimes these things are a pain to unwrap. Sometimes, though not always. Get it all unwrapped like this. Make sure my 4 is nearby. Ooh. And watch the speed too while I'm at it. Pick this up, put it on these paper towels, and then I gather up all the cheese that's on the outside here. Ooh. Sometimes this does happen, but it doesn't matter too much. Of course, that just means I gotta keep more distance from the outer edge. We group it up like this actually for a reason. So that way when the cheese melts, it has to spread out so that way I can cook it longer. Because otherwise, if it goes over the edge, then it's going to end up on the paper towel and it's otherwise wasted. If you know what I mean. I just get all the stuff on the edge as much as I best absolutely can. Catching anything that falls. And these paper towels are kind of like plates in a way too. Sometimes I do need to rotate to get better leverage or whatever that is. Another one fell. Okay, once I got all the stuff on the outside done, normally I'd be waiting for the next ad session on TV, and when the ad session comes on, I wipe it on my paper towel here, because that's what these are for. Okay, and let's say the next ad session just came on, or at least the start of advertising on TV, which normally I'd mute. And then I head off to the microwave and heat it. This particular variety uses 222, but some go for 258, and most of the others go for 99. You know, kind of depends. So while I'm waiting for this, and either check the TV or out there, or just do something else. Look around, see what's going on outside, and things like that.
Why do you haven't talked too much about degreasing. Why do you degrease?
Well, I want to get at that a little bit when I get to actually that stage, because that is next.
Oh, okay. But I'm going to ask you, after the whole process, I'm going to ask you a few questions, because we might end up using the narration, where we use your audio from you talking and then putting that on top of the video. So it seems like you're like narrating your own actions.
And one thing that I do need to note is that I have to keep a close eye on this too, because I don't want it going over. It's already starting to melt. Yep, it's going down. I see that. That wall causing a problem. And usually when it gets to about 50 seconds remaining on this or so, I keep a very close eye on it, so make sure it doesn't go over the edge. Because if it does, it ends up screwing up the microwave tray, and that causes some problems too, so keep a very close eye on it. And it's just now starting to go over, just barely. So, I get my finger ready for turning this thing off. Yep, it's going over. Be very careful not to tip it or anything. And back to my room. Normally the end of the ad session's got over with. And one thing I forgot to do that I just now... One thing I forgot to do that I now realized is that I forgot to spread this box out like this. Fold along these flaps here, both directions. Fold this one out too, the same exact way. And then I put the pizza on here. And now the box is now my makeshift plate. The third phase of the process is degreasing it. This, although I'm not entirely certain, cuts back on the fat. Now, this is a clean paper towel, okay? This is a very clean paper towel. Now, this is what degreasing came up. See this darker colored area here that looks kind of wet? That is supposedly some of the fat that I just soaked up. Fat is 9 calories per gram, roughly. And carbohydrates are 4 and protein are 4. But look how much this all comes up. This is a lot of grease. This is why I degrease, and this is why I'm actually otherwise at a pretty healthy weight overall, despite the fact I eat almost nothing but pizza. Of course, I fill the first or one half of this paper towel on just one side, trying to keep all the sauce toward the center as much as I can. Of course, you can't really be perfect, so that does kind of throw a few things off here and there. Of course, I'm also soaking up some of the sauce, but I'm mostly getting fat and other stuff like that. Remember, every gram of fat that I soak up, I'm cutting off 9 calories. And then once this gets to about half full, I cover the entire pizza like this. And try to otherwise soak up as much as I can this way. Pizza's still quite warm, so I need to be careful with that. And that's normal, because it just got cooked, you know. In this case, it doesn't matter if the sauce gets onto the paper towel. That's what the paper towel is for. Okay. Then this, look how much grease I got out of here. One thing that I would really like to do, send this into a lab and just see how much fat I'm actually soaking up. That would be really neat to know. Compare that against this Pizza's Nutrition Facts and just see how effective this process really is. Seems to work for me, but because after all I've been doing this for a good decade or so by now. So yeah, it does have its effects. Okay, that's just one paper towel. Now I always do a second one, because it's still quite greasy even after that first one. Not as greasy, but still. I repeat the same process as I did on that second one for the third and fourth. Of course, if another ad session came on, I'd otherwise be muting, going over to the remote control and hitting mute on that, and otherwise going from there. And one interesting thing is, I actually can't smell this at all. I have no idea what the scent is.
How long have you been degreasing pizza?
I've already said that. 10 years. Remember? Okay, and when this one's otherwise full, I look for the most greasy areas, and then I use the corners of the paper towel to soak up still more. Of course, I've probably gotten rid of, I don't know, half the grease, 2/3. I have actually no idea, and I have no way to know without doing lab tests on it. Would be interesting for Mythbusters too. How effective is this for a weight loss routine? For them to test, you know? That'd be interesting to know. Okay, and then when it comes to, now it's otherwise phase 4, which still involves degreasing, but it does also throw in eating. In this case, you are probably wondering here, this pizza is really big compared to the paper towel. Well, there's actually a reason for that. I use the paper towel that the pizza's on for additional degreasing. Yep, even then, I'm still getting more out. Not anywhere near as much as it was, but now I eat. First, mostly focus on the part that's on the inside, that's kind of stiff. And of course I do get grease or stuff on my fingers, so that's what this paper towel is for. I just wipe it on there. Yeah, I may be a little crazy on the paper towels, but with this method, it's incredibly useful. Napkins also work, but chances are the cheese is going to stick to it. Cheap paper towels, the cheese is also going to stick to it. Bounty and Brawny do especially well with repelling that. Mess. Come on, thank you. Mess.
How long does it usually take to eat a pizza of this size?
It normally takes about, I'd say, 30 minutes or so to eat a pizza of about this size. And a good chunk of it comes from degreasing. If this is any hint, I've been going at this for probably almost 5 minutes now, and I'm still barely even ate anything. And of course there's the preparation, cook time, and all that. Add it all up, and 2 pizzas easily takes about an hour. If not still more yet, throwing in mind drifts and waiting for ad sessions.
So you stop eating when commercials happen?
No, I still eat when ads are still going on. Just and bread like this usually doesn't get degreased too well, so I just eat it as is. You're rolling now?
Yes, sir.
You got your exposure and everything the same as it was?
Mm-hmm. One sec. Just make sure of it. Yeah, we're good.
The 5th and final phase of the process involves, well, it's not really the final, it's the 5th phase, and second to final, is where I group the cheese or try to move it toward the end like this or so. Usually it does require some pulling and stuff. And then, like using this paper towel to soak up grease and stuff. And then I use this paper towel to really focus on the degreasing. This is where I put a lot of pressure on it. That's why I get it near the edge so I don't have the sauce poking out so much, if this part here is any hint. So yep, I put pressure on it. This brings in even more of the grease. And then once it's done, just to give you an idea on what the effect is, And look at all this right here. This, I don't even know what it is, but I think it might be grease still yet. And then I just eat that part, and only that part that I just had onto here. And when that's done, I just repeat the process using other parts of the paper towel for the next section that I intend on eating. And repeat. Of course, this kind of turns a pizza into a pancake in a way from all the pressure I tend to put on them sometimes. But hey, it's still the same taste anyway. Slightly different to chew, but that's a different subject, and it doesn't matter much. Yep, more grease again. And in this case, it doesn't matter if the sauce gets on the box or anything. One thing you might be noticing while I'm doing this is that I'm always eating the toppings first, but not the actual crust. I do eat the crust all the time, yes. I actually produce extremely little waste when it comes to me and eating. Waste almost nothing in the way of food. It's just the degreasing, a slight amount of sauce that ends up on the paper towel, but that's really about it. Even more grease, and that otherwise covers this whole thing. For minuscule portions like this, for example, those I just pretty much eat outright as is. This and this are otherwise too small, and they're already well buried into the sauce, so I just eat them as is. The sixth and final phase is to group all the sauce, or at least not really group it, but spread it out as evenly as I can over the entire pizza, kind of like this in a way, usually done by repeated folding. And then I just eat the whole crust as it is.
I'm sorry, I just thought of something really funny. Sorry.
What?
It's an inside joke. Sorry, it has nothing to do with this. I'm sorry. So, you like eating the cheese first and keeping the sauce for last?
Yes, I prefer the cheese first and the sauce last. It kind of helps amplify the flavor or something. Or at least I should say, it improves the flavor slightly. 20% may not seem like much, but it's within the margin of error of my compatibility motive system. One thing you might notice is that I start on the outside part and then I work my way inside. It's just kind of a habit I have. No big deal. And when the pizza is otherwise gone, what I usually do is I get rid of some of the crumbs onto this paper towel. Then I throw just the paper towel into the trash. And then I set up for the next one using otherwise the same procedure. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I see that, especially if the pizza's been in the freezer for a bit, I sometimes see a lot of ice crystals. Like, for example, it's kind of hard to see because there's cheese in there and it's kind of partially melted. But whenever I see quite a bit of ice, I usually just take a paper towel like this, which otherwise kind of gets rid of the ice to some extent. No guarantee or anything, but still, it does get rid of the ice. Yep, this is mostly just water here because of the ice. And I'm also soaking up a little bit of cheese and stuff too, but that's expected. And I usually do 2 rounds to use up the whole paper towel so it doesn't get wasted, or at least as minimally as possible. And in some cases, especially if the icing is really bad, I just keep my hand on here for as long as I can stand it, which usually isn't very long because of my 57% ice defense. And sometimes I get big cheese chunks like this, for example, so I just slowly take it off and put it back on so that doesn't get wasted. And then that one gets thrown in the trash and I just do my normal routine. And good shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.